Good afternoon, Year 6, and welcome to your topic lesson, which, as you know, our topic this term is called Me, Myself and CSI. And the lesson within our topic today is science. And we're going to specifically look at fingerprints. So our learning is to understand what fingerprints are. Our focus is to understand the science behind fingerprints and the history of their discovery and use. Our purpose is to develop our understanding of our identities linked to our fingerprints and that they are unique to each individual. And your assessment will be you will create a timeline of the development of the use of fingerprints. Now, unique means that they are just yours, and no individual will have the same fingerprints as you. So why do we have fingerprints? For over 100 years, scientists have believed that the purpose of our fingerprints is to improve our ability to grip objects. But research has discovered that fingerprints do not improve grip by increasing friction between the skin on our fingers and an object. In fact, fingerprints actually reduce friction and our ability to grasp smooth objects. So instead of being able to hold an object and hold it securely in our hands, our fingerprints actually reduce our ability to do that, and smoother things tend to slip through our fingers a lot easier. So our fingerprints don't really help us to grasp or hold on to things. While testing the hypothesis of fingerprint friction, University of Manchester researchers discovered that skin behaves more like rubber than a normal solid. So the hypothesis is like when we do science, when we set out to find out, to test what we think we know or what we want to find out, or the question that we've set ourselves. In fact, our fingerprints reduce our ability to grasp objects because they reduce our skin's contact area with objects we hold. So when we hold something, the greater the area in which we can hold on to something, the better our ability is to keep it in our hands and keep it secure. So the question remains, why do we have fingerprints? And no one knows for sure. Several theories have arisen suggesting that fingerprints may help us to grasp rough or wet surfaces, fingers from damage, and increase touch sensitivity. So touch sensitivity means that if we touch something that's cold, that's hot, that's rough or smooth, that we can actually tell that from our fingerprints. So how do fingerprints develop? Fingerprints are ridged patterns that form on our fingertips. They develop while we are in our mother's womb and are formed completely by the 7th month. So we start to develop our fingerprints, our uniqueness in our mother's womb. So here, the tips of our finger is where we will find our fingerprints. We all have unique individual fingerprints for life. So no one else has the same fingerprints as us. Our genes influence the patterns of ridges on our fingers, our palms, our toes, and our feet. These patterns are unique even amongst identical twins. So if you have an identical twin, they will not have the same fingerprints as you. They will be unique, and they are unique to any one person. While twins have identical DNA, they still have unique fingerprints. This is because of a host of factors, lots of different reasons. In addition to our genetic makeup, what makes us, our DNA, which we'll be learning more about as we work through our topic, in addition to the genetic makeup and the influence of fingerprint formation. So there's lots of things that go in to creating our uniqueness and our genetic makeup, all of the chromosomes and everything that goes to make us the person we are. The location of the fetus in the womb, the flow of amniotic fluid, and the length of the umbilical cord are all factors that play a role in shaping individual fingerprints. So the fetus is what we call a baby before it's developed in the womb. And the amniotic fluid is a fluid that the baby sits inside the womb or lives inside. And the umbilical cord is what joins the baby to the mother. And that's where the fetus will get its nutrients and everything that it needs to grow and develop into a human baby. So the types of fingerprints. Fingerprints consist of patterns of arches, loops, and whorls. These patterns are formed in the innermost layer of the epidermis, known as the basal cell layer. So the epidermis is as the basal cell layer is located between the outermost layer of the skin, the epidermis, and the thick layer of skin that lies beneath and supports the epidermis, known as the dermis. Basal cells constantly divide and produce new cells. So basal cells are always developing, always growing. They divide and produce new skin cells, and they divide again and produce even more skin cells. And these are pushed upwards to form and keep our skin forming. And they replace the older cells that die. So when you get dry skin, that's the older cells of your skin dying, and so new ones are always being made to replace. So the basal cell layer in the fetus grows faster than the outer epidermis and dermis layers. This growth causes the basal cell layer to fold, forming a variety of patterns. Because fingerprint patterns are formed in the basal layer, damage to the surface layer will not alter fingerprints. So because of where the fingerprints patterns are formed within the layers of your skin, if you damage your finger, scratch it, it doesn't alter your fingerprints. So because they will always be there, always unique to you. The fingerprints and bacteria, and this is really important at the moment, I suppose, because we're always trying to get the bad bacteria off our hands, trying to wash in the situation we're in at the moment. So researchers at the University of Colorado in America at Boulder have shown that bacteria found on the skin can be used as personal identifiers. That means that it can identify you if you leave your fingerprint anywhere. This is possible because bacteria that live on your skin and reside on your hands are unique, even among identical twins. Like we said at the beginning, that these that your fingerprints are just unique to you, nobody else has them. These bacteria are left behind on the items we touch. That's why it's important to wash your hands all the time at the moment. By genetically sequencing bacterial DNA, specific bacteria found on surfaces can be matched to the hands of the person from which they came. So because your fingerprints are so unique, when you have bacteria on them and you touch something, your fingerprint and the bacteria stays there. That's another reason why we always need to be wiping down things as we touch them, because that bacteria lives on there. But it will also help identify you as well. These bacteria can be used as a type of fingerprint because of their uniqueness and their ability to remain unchanged for several weeks. Material analysis could be a useful tool in forensic identification when human DNA or clear fingerprints cannot be obtained. So for some reason, if fingerprints can't be taken for some reason, or that they can't be clear, then the bacterial analysis can still help identify you. So our fingerprints will identify us, and they are used a lot of the time in crime investigations. and also for identifying if a human remains are found somewhere, they can be used along with DNA to identify that person, to give them an identity. So fingerprints, once they are in a database, can be scanned and matched to the person that they belong to. So we're just going to go back a couple of slides. We'll go back to the types of patterns. So your fingerprints might be made up of more loops, and there, as you can see, a pattern that goes up and round like that, like forming hills in a way. So your fingers, or you might have some like that. You might have walls, and they are, as you can see, more circular fingerprints with layers underneath. Or you might have more arch, and as you can see, they're like a bridge. So there's the different types of fingerprints that you can have. And if you're lucky enough to have a magnifying glass or something at home, if you actually look closely at your fingers, you might be able to do it under the lens of your camera as well. You'll be able to see what sort of fingerprints you might leave behind. And hopefully when we come back to school, we'll do some investigations into what types of fingerprints we all have, and we'll take some fingerprints and have a look at them, and have a look more closely at actually what type of fingerprints are evident in the print that we leave. And we'll also be able to look at how unique they are, because you'll be able to compare them with someone else's. So that's hopefully for the future. So key learning points that we need to take away from this lesson is that, why do we have fingerprints and what are they? Fingerprints are rigid patterns that form on our fingertips. Several theories have arisen as to why we have fingerprints. No one knows for sure. Some scientists believe that fingerprints may provide protection to our fingers or increase our sensitivity to touch. Studies have shown that fingerprints actually inhibit our ability to grasp objects. But scientists agree and disagree on that, and science is always developing, as we know, so maybe one day they'll know for sure. Fingerprints consist of arch, loop and wall patterns that form in the 7th month of fetal development. No two people have identical fingerprints, not even twins. So if you leave your fingerprints behind and they can be matched to you, you can't say, no, I wasn't there, that wasn't my fingerprint, no, I didn't touch that. They can only ever belong to you. The unique bacteria that live on our hands can be used as a type of fingerprint too. So lots of key points that we've learned from the slides today, but those are the key points that you need to think about and remember. So today's independent learning task, you need to follow the link below and research the history of the development and use of fingerprints. And then I would like you to create a timeline showing how the use of fingerprints has evolved over time. So you must make sure that you have your slides, when you come out of your slides at the corner here, it clicks present. You must always have your slides on present, because they are so much easier to use that way. So if you click present, your slides appears in full screen. When you do that, you can click on this link here and it will take you to this page, softschools.com, and it tells you all about the history of fingerprints. And at the top it says a timeline description. Fingerprints today are widely used by employers as well as police stations across the world, because no two fingerprints are the same. They quickly become an accurate way of identifying people. So if you slide down, scroll down, sorry, you will see 100 BC, 1686, 1886, 1823, 1858. And what I would like you to do is to take those dates and create a timeline. So I will model how I'd like your timeline to look for you so that you know how to present your timeline. Now it's up to you. You could do this on your device if you wanted to, or you can do it on paper. It's entirely up to you. So if I come back to our meet and present, go to full screen. We'll stop presenting. Oh, and so you should have, I'm going to disappear from the screen, but I am going to be here modeling you. So you need a type of your timeline. So you would like the history of fingerprint. Timeline. And you will probably find it easier if you not sure whether you do that, bring it a bit further forward, no, take it back a little bit. Okay, so you might find it easier if you have your paper lengthways rather than portrait. And as I say, you can make this on your computer, on your device if you want to. So we start at a timeline at 1000 BC. So I'm going to put the date at the bottom, and then if you will just excuse me leaning over to grab a pen, I am going to write fingerprints are used like a signature. So fingerprints. I'm then going to continue my timeline. Obviously going off the page. In ancient, I'm going through the ancient Babylon. So this is just the information that is on the web page that I showed you. So then I will choose my next date, which is 1686. And this time, I'm going to write the date of birth so that I've got room to do my writing and present. I'm just going to read my notes. So fingerprint are noticed by Professor Marcello, and I'm not sure how you pronounce the man. P. It is Italian. So, and then I will have my timeline looking like that. The next date I put on this time I'm going to put it below. And the date is 1823. And this time I'm going below. So if you can see, I'm setting it out. So I've got room, if I'm writing, so I've got room up and down so that my writing isn't squashed together. I've got room to clearly use my timeline. So in 1823, oh, the pen you needed. In 1823, 9 patterns are documented in by doctors in Tokyo. Now, you can add more information if you want to. I'm just showing you how the best way to set your timeline out is. So, next one, this time, my date is 1901, and I'm going to write below. So that's how we can set out our timeline on our sheet, if we're doing it on a sheet, and on our device if you want to. Okay, so when you have completed your timeline, you can share it with your teacher, and then we'll be able to look at them, or you can share them on Dojo, whichever way you like to share with us. So I hope you've learned something about fingerprints, and we will go on to develop this learning further and maybe see if you can find a way of looking closer and investigating your own fingerprints. So until I see you again, I will say goodbye for now, and see you soon.